All right, today we're going to talk about something that pretty much rules everything. I mean, from the tiny choices you make every single morning to the huge policies that shape entire nations. We're talking about the absolute core of economics, scarcity and choice. So let's get right into it. Okay, so this sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, right? You've got a lone castaway on an island and a global superpower. What could they possibly have in common? Well, what if I told you they're both wrestling with the exact same fundamental problem? And that's it, right there. This is the heart and soul of economics. We all want more than we can actually have. You know, our desires are basically infinite, but our time, our money, the resources on this planet, all of that is limited. This huge imbalance, that's what economists call scarcity. And because of it, every single one of us is forced to make choices, all the time.
So because of this whole scarcity thing, every society, I don't care how big or how small, has to answer three basic questions. What are we going to produce? More hospitals or more stadiums? How are we going to produce it? Are we using robots or are we relying on human labor? And maybe the toughest one, who gets the stuff we make? How a society answers these questions, well, that's what defines its entire economy.
Now, to even start answering those questions, societies have three basic building blocks to work with. These are the factors of production. First up, you've got land, and it's not just dirt, it's all natural resources, the whole shebang. Then there's labor. That's pretty straightforward. It's the human effort, the brain power, the muscle. And finally, there's capital. Now be careful here. In economics, this isn't just money. It's the stuff we make to make other stuff. Think tools, machines, factories, roads. These are the limited resources we've got to try and satisfy all those unlimited wants.
Okay, to really get a grip on this, let's just scale everything way, way down. Forget about global markets for a minute. Let's just meet Bill. He's a castaway, all alone, on an island. There's no economy, no government, no money. It's just him, his brain, and whatever the island has to offer.
And this is what's so brilliant about this little thought experiment. Even all by himself, Bill is dealing with scarcity. He's only got so many hours in the day, right? So much energy. Should he spend the afternoon trying to catch fish, or should he be building a stronger shelter? The choices he's making on this tiny scale are basically the same kinds of choices a country of millions of people has to make every day.
And this brings us to one of the most powerful ideas in all of economics. Seriously, if you remember one thing, make it this: opportunity cost. See, the real cost of anything isn't just the price tag. It's the value of the next best thing you had to give up to get it. So if Bill decides to fish for an hour, the opportunity cost isn't nothing. It's the progress he could have made on a shelter in that same hour. It's the path not taken.
And you see this play out everywhere. Think about something as simple as a frozen dinner. Why did they get so popular? Well, it's because for a whole lot of people, the opportunity cost of spending an hour cooking from scratch was way higher than the few bucks the dinner cost. They were basically choosing to buy back an hour of their precious time. Every single choice we make is a trade-off. So let's make this about you. Right now, you're here with me, learning about this stuff. What was the next best thing you could be doing with this time? Maybe it was going for a run, or binge watching that new show, or calling a friend. Whatever that is, that's the opportunity cost of hanging out with me right now. No pressure.
Okay, so Bill's life is about to get a lot more complicated. Our story evolves because a second survivor, Colleen, just washed up on the shore. And this changes everything. Now they've got to figure out how to deal with different skills, different priorities, and, each other.
And this is where a really cool economic principle kicks in: comparative advantage. Let's say Colleen is just a natural at fishing. She can catch fish way faster than Bill. But maybe Bill is better at gathering firewood. The key here isn't about who's better at everything overall. It's about who has the lower opportunity cost for each job. In other words, who gives up less to get something done.
And just look at the results. It's pretty amazing. If they both try to do a little of everything, a little fishing, a little wood gathering, they end up with, say, 10 units of food and 10 of wood. But what if they specialize? What if Colleen only fishes and Bill only gathers wood? Suddenly their total output jumps to 15 of each. Just by focusing on what they're most efficient at, they literally create more wealth out of thin air.
So here's the big takeaway. By focusing on their comparative advantage and then trading with each other, they both wind up with more stuff than they could have possibly made on their own. They've broken past their individual limits. And this, right here, is the fundamental argument for trade, whether we're talking about two people on an island or two giant countries on opposite sides of the world.
Okay, so we've seen how this works for Bill and Colleen, but how do we take this idea and scale it up to an entire society? How do we even begin to visualize the massive web of choices a whole nation has to make?
Well, economists have a great tool for this. It's called the Production Possibility Frontier, or PPF for short. The best way to think about it is like a menu of possibilities for a country. It's a graph that shows all the different combinations of goods and services, let's say cars and computers, that a country can produce if it's using all of its land, labor, and capital as efficiently as possible.
Reading this graph is actually pretty simple. If you're on a point that's right on the curve, it means your economy is running at 100% efficiency. Everything is being used. Now, if you're at a point inside the curve, that's not great. It means you've got unemployed resources or you're just being inefficient. And what about a point outside the curve? Well, that's the dream. It's currently unattainable with what you've got, but it's something to shoot for.
But you probably noticed something, right? The line isn't straight, it's bowed outwards. And that curve tells a really important story. It represents the law of increasing opportunity cost. In simple terms, it means the more you produce of one thing, the more you have to give up of the other. The trade-offs actually get steeper and more expensive.
Just look at this example with corn and wheat. To get your first 100 million bushels of corn, you only have to give up about 50 million bushels of wheat. Easy enough. You're probably just converting land that's already pretty good for corn, but to squeeze out that last 50 million bushels of corn, now you've got to give up a whopping 100 million bushels of wheat. Why? Because now you're trying to grow corn on land that's perfect for wheat. The opportunity cost has shot way up.
So does this mean we're just stuck forever with these tough choices? Absolutely not. What happens when technology gets better, or we discover new resources? Well, the entire frontier, the whole curve can shift outward. And that is what we call economic growth. It's how we make those impossible, unattainable points from yesterday a reality for tomorrow. Okay, this all leads to a really big question. We know every society faces these choices, these trade-offs on the PPF. But who gets to decide? Who picks where on that curve we're going to be? Who decides how we answer those three fundamental economic questions?
If you look at history and theory, you basically see two opposite extremes. On one end, you have a command economy. Here, a central authority, usually the government, makes all the big decisions. They decide what gets made, how much people get paid, all of it. On the other end, you have what's called a laissez-faire or free market economy. Here, there's no central planner. Instead, the decisions of millions of individuals, all pursuing their own interests, are coordinated almost magically by the price system.
But of course, the real world is messy. You're not going to find a purely command or purely laissez-faire economy anywhere on Earth. In reality, every single economy is a mixed system. They all fall somewhere on the spectrum between those two extremes, blending a little bit of government direction with a lot of individual freedom.
So let's wrap this all up. What are the big takeaways? First, scarcity is universal. Nobody escapes it. Second, because of scarcity, every choice has an opportunity cost. There's always a road not taken. Third, we saw how specialization and trade are like a superpower. They allow us to create more wealth for everyone. And finally, all of this means that societies have to create systems to manage these massive ongoing trade-offs.
Look, this isn't just some abstract theory for a textbook. It's the operating system for the choices you make every single day, with your time, your career, your money. So the real question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you have a clearer picture of the trade-offs involved, what are you going to choose to do next?